It's week 2 of playoffs, everybody. Welcome to the Fairfax Sports Report. I am Paul Frummelt with John Humble Pie Marcario from the Connection newspapers and Dave Bushenfeld from the Fairfax County Times. Now we have All-American Matt Kugler and Oakton baseball coach Scott Rowland on the phone tonight. But first, let's go to the people that make this show possible. That's right, I'm talking about our teammates. CCI Screen Printing. For all your screen printing needs, 703-978-0257. Quality Care Ford Service Center, servicing all makes and models at 703-383-6298. And Triple Edge Lacrosse. You can visit them at www.tripleedgelacrosse.com. All right, guys, so we're going to jump right into things. But first, if you weren't here last week, or you may have a problem with your memory, we're going to go ahead and introduce Dave Bushenfeld from the Fairfax County Times, who has joined the show last week. And Dave, give us a little brief background on what you do at the Fairfax County Times.
Well, hi, my name is Dave Bushenfeld. I'm the sports editor of the Fairfax County Times. I've been with the paper a little over a year. We cover all the high schools in Fairfax County, and it's a pleasure to be here, guys.
All right. So again, as I mentioned, we have All-American Matt Kugler from the Robinson Rams, the boys lacrosse team, going to be on the phone, and Oakton baseball coach Scott Rowland. We have all your baseball, all your lacrosse, all your soccer playoff news. But first, one more thing. We have a few news and notes. And first, I believe, Dave, you have a note on Quantrell Simmons, the boys basketball player from Centerville.
Yep. Some news out of Centerville High School. Senior Quantrell Simmons, who is a forward on the basketball team, has committed to play at Virginia Wesleyan College next year. Virginia Wesleyan finished second in the nation this year, and they won the national championship 2 seasons ago. Quantrell averaged 15 points and 8 rebounds per game for the Wildcats this season. And down at Virginia Wesleyan, he will be joining former Wildcat point guard Tim Wayant, who is on the basketball team at this time.
Now, Quantrell, obviously the Centerville basketball team had a tough year. Head coach Brian Doyle had a tough year with that squad, but Quantrell was definitely a bright spot for that team. And yep. John, we have some basketball hiring news as well. Go ahead, Lake Braddock has himself a new coach.
We do. There's always basketball news all the time. Lake Braddock has been looking for a head coach for the past couple of weeks after Coach Fisher stepped down after 7 seasons. He was 89-93. They filled it with Carl Harris. He's been an assistant at Marshall, the powerhouse they have over there for the past 5 seasons. Harris takes over a program that was a regional contender 2 and 3 years ago. They've kind of stepped back a little bit, but there is some pieces over there at Lake Braddock, so watch out for a possible change of direction this upcoming season. Also, a little tennis.
Okay.
Robinson kicked off their defense of their state title by beating Woodson last night, cruising. They beat them 9-0 in points-wise. Robinson should not face any competition until the states, and that's just serious competition. You should have back-to-back state champion tennis squad at Robinson.
Robinson boys tennis, one of the best tennis teams in the state, obviously, won the title last year. All right, guys, we are going to jump right into baseball playoffs. It's time. We're going to get things going. First, we're going to talk about the Concord District. As always, the Concord with Oakton right there at number 1, at 11-1 in the district, 18-2 overall. And Robinson falling behind a little bit to Oakton, 8-4 in the district, 11-9 overall. Chantilly, which dropped to Oakton, is at 8-4 right now, 12-7 overall. Westfield at 7-5. 13-7 overall. You got Centerville there, had a good streak in the middle of the season. They're 5-7 in the district, 8-12 overall. And then Herndon at 2-10, and Fairfax at 1-11 in the bottom of the Concord district. And guys, one thing about Oakton is, we're going to have Coach Scott Rowland on the phone real soon, but Oakton is a team that's really come on strong as of late. They pounded out 12 hits against Chantilly. Keith Worman was 4 for 4. Mark Sire was 2 for 3 with a home run against Chantilly, and Eric Cantrell, their great pitcher, is now 8-1 on the year, pitched a complete game against Chantilly. So Dave, actually, you've had a chance to see Oakton this year. You mentioned they're on quite a bit of a good winning streak.
It's really unbelievable what they've done. They lost their first 2 games of the season to Robinson and Madison back-to-back, and they have now rolled off 18 wins in a row, which is really unheard of. They've outscored their opponents this season 172-53, so that's over triple what their opponents are scoring, and it's just hard to see this team slowing down. I know they struggled a little bit against Fairfax and Herndon at the end of the season, might have gotten a little out of focus but I think they're going to be very tough to beat in the postseason here.
We mentioned Keith Werman. He was the Player of the Year for the Concord District. And pitcher Eric Cantrell was the Pitcher of the Year with A.J. Johnson from Robinson. And Chantilly's coach Kevin Ford was the, you can see it on the screen right there, Kevin Ford was the Coach of the Year for Chantilly. In a second, we're going to have on Oakton head coach Scott Rowland. And one thing I wanted to mention about Chantilly, you look at Chantilly there, one thing you see from Chantilly was their pitchers. They had 2 first-team all-district pitchers in Pat Summers and Max Langford. So, and up until last week, they were in the 2nd place in the district. How do you guys see this district tournament shaking up? Do you think Oakton is just too powerful?
Well, before everybody hops on the Oakton train, you touched on it a little bit. You said they've been struggling. Recently, Fairfax Herndon, they had the complete game from the pitcher against Chantilly. They did win that game 7-3, but those 3 games a lot closer. You can blame it on getting distracted at the end, or you can blame it on teams making adjustments, seeing them the 2nd time around. In the regional tournament, you're going to have possibly Robinson seeing them a 3rd time around. I've been saying it for a little while now. I think Oakton is definitely primed for an upset. If they happen to face Robinson, which is a big if because Robinson's going to still have to play the winner of the Chantilly-Herndon game, which is tonight, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Chantilly will win that game. Robinson would then play they played Chantilly tough this year. They're 1-1 against them. Most recently beat them 4-1. If they happen to get past Chantilly, who they rely a lot on small ball. I mean, they're not going to beat you with the long hits. They're going to need a lot of breaks to go their way. They're going to need, not for lack of a better word, they're going to need a lot of luck to go their way because it's a good fundamental team. It's just they can't put together a complete and full game, in my opinion. So if Robinson should beat them, you'd have a Robinson-Oakton matchup in the Concord Finals. Robinson has beat them once this year, 2-0 already. Robinson's played better of late. They're going to have A.J. Johnson pitch great over the next 2 games. He'll probably start against Chantilly, come in relief against Oakton. I see Robinson pulling off the upset because they've just played them tough. I mean, they lost them 8-4 another time, but it was close till the end.
I'm glad you did mention that they most recently lost to
most
Oakton
recently
8-4.
Yes.
They did beat them in the beginning of the season 0-2. We have Coach Scott Rowland on the line right now, and Coach, we're debating who the Robinson-Oakton debate. Obviously, the Concord a tough district. What have you seen from Robinson this year in the 2 games that you've played them?
They're a tough team. I think they're a dominant team with A.J. Johnson on the mound. But let me say this: there's no guarantee either team's getting to that final game. We both have to take care of business before we get there.
Now, Coach, last year AAA runners-up, lost to Morican 9-8 on that interference call. Entering in the playoffs again this year, is that in the back of the kid's mind at all? That last year, all that drama.
I don't think so. I think that's over. I think it was last year, and I think our guys have moved on. They realized that one call didn't cost us the game. It was, it ended the game, but it didn't cost us the game. We could have taken care of business earlier than that.
We mentioned Eric Cantrell got co-pitcher of the year this year in the Concord District. Cantrell 8-1 now after beating Chantilly. What have you seen from him on the mound?
He's been pretty dominant. Actually, the best game he pitched all season was that first game against Robinson when we lost 2-0. He gave up two hits. I think only 1 hit made it to the outfield. We misplayed a bunt and lost the game 2-0. But he's been pretty dominant in all his performances.
Coach, I got to ask you about Fairfax. Their season ended yesterday. They ended it on an 11-game losing streak. They played you tough at the end of the year, but this is back-to-back season now. The Rebels have started out really strong and just faded down the stretch. Why do you think that's happened in 2 consecutive seasons? And going on that, who do you think could be a sleeper in your Concord district for somebody that may spring an upset?
Well, I think Fairfax plays tough. I think they're well coached. I think they came up a little short on pitching this year. But they battled us 2 games. The first game, it was 1-1 in 9 innings, and we finally pulled that game out. And then they were actually beating us 6-4 the second game. They've always played us tough. I think they have a tough team, but I think they came up a little short with pitching this year. As far as a sleeper in our district, I don't think there's going to be a sleeper. I think Robinson and ourselves, we know that anybody in our district is capable of beating us. So we're not taking this lightly. We're not going in thinking about Robinson already. We're just trying to win Friday night.
Now, Coach, I was at that state title game last year, obviously very heartbreaking. The thing I heard from you and a lot of your players was thing that was bothering you even more was the fact that you had nothing to show for the season that you had. You didn't win the district, didn't win the region, and then didn't win the state title. How badly do your players want to win this district tournament coming up to have a trophy for that trophy case?
I think pretty badly. I think I said it about 10 years ago. I go, one of the worst seasons I think you could have is coming in second in the district, second in the region, second in the state. And, it was pretty painful. So I think, we're not thinking about the region or the state right now. We're just trying to win our district tournament.
Mm-hmm. And mentioning, we mentioned 18 consecutive games after dropping your first two. Has that streak been talked about in the dugout? Have your kids been talking about, hey, we got this game streak going here?
I think it was talked about more when we hit about 10,
mm-hmm.
somewhere around 10 or 12, and then I think the Fairfax game where we went 9 innings, we stopped talking about the streak. We just started talking about the next game, mm-hmm.
and
getting to the playoffs and hopefully achieving some goals that we have for the playoffs.
Now, for a tournament, a district tournament, and a tournament such as the Concord, how important is having momentum entering the tournament?
I think it's huge. I think it's important to get that 1 seed for the regional tournament, but you always want to be playing your best baseball come tournament time, and I think we are playing pretty well right now. Just trying to win that district tournament because, winning 18 games in a row, unfortunately, in any other baseball league, that gets you some type of championship. But mm-hmm. the way the Northern Region works, you have to win the tournament to be declared a champion. There is no regular season champion.
Mm-hmm. Going on, the player of the year we mentioned, pitcher of the year, Eric Cantrell. Keith Merman was the player of the year, the senior from Oakton, obviously. Went 4 for 4 against Chantilly. What have you seen from him this year?
First of all, he's only a junior.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's a junior. He's been a 3-year starter. He's a catalyst for us. When he gets on base, things seem to click offensively for us. Mm-hmm. And he sets the tone defensively for us, too. He's a backstop there. Nothing gets to the backstop. He controls the other team's running game. He's just a solid all-around baseball player.
And looking around the Northern Region, when we jump past the district term real quick, look at the Northern Region, you see teams like Madison, Yorktown, Lake Braddock leading up those districts. Who do you think are the powers right now in the Northern Region?
Well, I think until somebody beats Lake Braddock, since they're the 2006 regional champions, I think until somebody beats Lake Braddock, they're still at the top. Mm-hmm. I think I think there's a lot of balance throughout the region that most teams can be beat by anybody, but Lake Braddock, I've seen Lake Braddock play, and they're well coached. They have some talented players. They have 2 really good pitchers. I think they're the team to beat. Along, you have to consider Madison in that grouping too. Mm-hmm. And I'm not slighting any other teams, but I would say right off the top, Lake Braddock, since they're the regional champion as of now, mm-hmm. They're the team to knock off.
Now, Coach, you mentioned Lake Braddock from the Patriot. The Concord is actually going to play the Patriot District. Is it kind of, for lack of a better word, unfair that you're going to have 4 teams that are going to go head-to-head, which any one of the 4 could be a Northern Region contender, not only for a title there, but also a state title? I mean, is it just kind of the luck of the draw, or, what are your opinions about facing the Patriot District in the Northern Region?
Well, you can't say it's unfair because it rotates every year, so it's not unfair. It is sometimes you have some good luck with the draw, and sometimes you have bad luck. But I know any time I've looked at the brackets and said, oh, wow, we got a pretty big draw, we don't end up doing very well. And when I look at a bracket and go, wow, I don't know how we're going to get through this, we seem to play pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Well, Oakton head coach Scott Rowland from the 18-2 Oakton Cougars. Coach, thanks a lot for being on the show, and we definitely look forward to seeing you out in the field.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Coach.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys, so obviously Oakton 18-2, we mentioned that 18 consecutive game streak. Do you think that might be, I mentioned having momentum is a good thing going into the tournament, but having this winning streak in the back of their mind, do you think that might be a tough thing entering a district tournament?
They're kids and they're teenagers. I think it's very tough. It would not it's an old cliche, but it's not a bad thing if they happen to lose a game. You saw what happened last year when they lost in the district tournament, then the region tournament, still made it all the way to the state tournament. It's just, you see it in any team, in any sport. Once you start getting 18, 19, 20 wins, you do what we do, the media. We're going to be like, what do you think of the streak? What do you think of the streak? And how many times can you answer the same question? Well, I'm not thinking about it. I'm just trying to go one. That's baloney. If you have 3 people such as us, because you're going to have more and more media at these games asking you every single game, you up to 22, coach, you up to 23, coach, sooner or later something's going to snap, and it may snap at the wrong time.
And speaking of rebounding after losing a tough district game, we're going to jump right into the Liberty District, and obviously Madison there rebounding after losing to Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah, they got 4 straight wins, and they're sitting in first place in the district with a 13-1 record in the district, 17-2 overall. Langley's in second place, 10-4 in the district, 15-5 overall. Stonebridge is third, 10-4 and 14-6. McLean is the number 4 seed in the district tournament, 8-6 in the district, 11-9 overall. South Lakes, who was just knocked out by Marshall in the first round of the district tournament, finished at 5-9 in the district, 9-11 overall. Jefferson also was knocked out by Woodson. They were 5-9 in the district, 9-10 overall. Then Woodson 3-11, 6-14 overall, and Marshall 2-12 in the district, 5-15 overall.
All right, guys. So again, Liberty has the Madison, and Madison, after losing to Thomas Jefferson, they won 16-6 over Woodson, 11-1 over Marshall, 10-0 over South Lakes, then 20-0 over Langley. Langley, the second place team in the district. And if you look at the Liberty District honors right now, you see it's run by Madison. You have the Player of the Year in Brian Smith, obviously. And you have the Pitcher of the Year with Jason Farley, also from Madison. And Coach of the Year, Pudge over at Madison, getting the Coach of the Year. So it's a Madison sweep for the 13-1 Madison Warhawks, 17-2 overall. And Dave, so what do you take from the Madison game? What do you take away from winning 20-0 against Langley?
Well, just in case you didn't hear that, they won 20-0 in a baseball game. That's not a football score. That was a baseball game. They scored 11 runs in the first inning alone, 6 in the second. So they were up 17-0 in the second inning, which is unbelievable. They pounded out 22 hits. Only 5 of them went for extra bases, however. They had 8 players with multiple hits in the game. They had 7 players with 2 or more RBI. I mean, what can you say about this team? They're swinging a hot bat. They got the pitching to go with it. You mentioned Jason Farley, Pitcher of the Year, is phenomenal. I mentioned last week he's 4 wins away from the all-time record at Madison for wins in a career. He has a career 1.29 ERA. Madison just won their 6th regular season district title out of the last 7 years. They're now going for their 5th district tournament title in the last 6 years. It's dominance. They just have dominated the Liberty District. And when you beat the second place team by 20 runs, and Langley wasn't playing scrubs either, they were playing their starters. What can you say about that?
Exactly. I mean, Dave Busherfeld dropping some knowledge there on Farley and the Madison Warhawks. Obviously, I talked to Coach Jeff Farrell from Langley, and let's make something known. Langley is a really good team. Langley just beat Stonebridge to secure the 2nd place in the district. They're the number 2 team in the district. And Jeff Farrell told me, he said, we didn't sit anybody, even though we had number 2 wrapped up. We didn't sit a player. All our starters were out there. They just outplayed us. Their pitching was phenomenal. They just pounded the ball, and that's something you're seeing. As I might have mentioned that last week with kind of poking a sleeping bear. I mean, Madison, they have responded from losing to Thomas Jefferson. And when I talked to Pudge, he mentioned, you know, I think that loss was actually a good thing for us. Coaches don't like to admit that, but sometimes there are beneficial losses, and you're seeing that with Madison right now. And now moving on to the Patriot District, or Marcario's domain, as I like to call it, Lake Braddock, as Coach Rowland mentioned, Lake Braddock right there up on top.
You've got to love the Patriot District, folks. Yes, you see Lake Braddock there at the top. They were your regular season champions, beating South County by 1 run on the last day of regular season. Lake Braddock finished the regular season 13-1 in district play, a sparkling 18-2 overall. South County Stallions finished second, 11-3 in district play, 14-5 overall. Then you have a bunch of sub-500 teams. T.C. Williams surged at the end. They finished third, 8-6 in district play, 8-10 overall. Hayfield was fourth, 8-6 in district play, 9-10 overall. West Springfield was fifth, 8-6 in district play, 11-9 overall. Lots of 8-6 teams there. It just bounced that way based on tiebreakers. Then you had West Potomac. They are 5-9 in district play, 8-12 overall. Annandale and Lee round out your Patriot District standings. Some of those team seasons have ended. mostly those bottom three.
All right, and Coach Jody Rutherford over from Lake Braddock winning the Coach of the Year honors with Player of the Year going to Alex Heitsuka from T.C. Williams. So Jody Rutherford obviously doing a great job for Lake Braddock. What have you seen from the Bruins this year, John?
They have pitching and they have hitting, and that's really all you need to know about Lake Braddock. I think
that helps. What about a little defense, too?
They've got defense, too. I think they will cruise to the Patriot District Finals. I don't think there's anybody that's going to stop them. They play South County again. I don't think South County is going to lose their game. It's when you have South County and Lake Braddock again. I know I'm not good at picks based on my Hayfield lacrosse projection, but if those two make it, you will have a classic baseball game again. Last week they played to a 3-2 game, walk-off home run from Lake Braddock in the bottom of the eighth, was it? Bottom of the seventh to win it. I mean, they played two close games. I think if those two teams meet again, though, South County will win the Patriot District Tournament title. And let me preference that. I know people that have been watching the show a lot know I'm a little biased towards the Stallions, but here's 3 reasons why. Number 1, it's hard to beat a very, very good team 3 times in 1 year. Number 2, the game's being played at South County, so you're not having the advantage that Lake Braddock has where they have grass in the infield. No, it's at South County. When you have it at South County, that's just a huge boost. And number 3, as I mentioned before, they played 2 close games already this season, so we don't have any 20-0 clubbings like Madison over Langley. I mean, you've got 2 evenly matched teams. Sway either way, tiebreaker, home field. I'm going to give it to South County.
Before I have you run further in the Patriot districts, we know you just have the knowledge of the Patriot, obviously. Dave, what do the matchups look like for this district?
Tonight, Hayfield is playing West Springfield for the 3rd time in the last 2 weeks. The team split the last 2 matchups, and they were scheduled to play tonight at 6:30, so the game actually might be over right now. And Annandale and T.C. Williams was the other game playing tonight. The winner of Hayfield and West Springfield would go on to play those Bruins from Lake Braddock, and the winner of Annandale and T.C. Williams will be going on to face South County. Those games will both be Friday night at 8 o'clock, and the first game, South County will play at 5 o'clock, and Lake Braddock will play at 8 o'clock, both those games at South County Secondary School.
Now, for you T.C. Williams fans out there, I know you're saying, hey, if we win our game, we're going to face South County. We've got a definite good chance. No, you don't. You've lost 2 games to them. Total scores have been, they lost 4-2 earlier in the year. They lost recently 8-1. They don't hit against South County. They don't pitch well against South County. You're not going to win that game. So T.C. Williams fans, I'm sorry, no win.
Well, one thing you have to look at is playing a team a 3rd time. That always causes some problems when you play someone for a 3rd time. You see that all the time in district tournaments. It's the 3rd time these teams are playing in some instances, and you can always see upsets. But you say no upset?
No upsets. Also on Alex, what's impressive about him is he missed a couple of weeks with an injury early in the year, and he still won the district player of the year. I mean, without him, that team was going towards the bottom of the standings with the Lees and the Annandales. With him, surged to the top. They're a good team. I know I said it's tough to beat a team 3 times in a row, and people are saying, oh, Marcaria, you're crazy. You just said that you can't beat a team 3 times in a row. But T.C. Williams is a good team. They're not a great team like Lake Braddock and South County. They're a good team. You can beat good teams 3 times in a row. You can't beat great teams 3 times in a row, in my opinion.
T.C. Williams and Hayfield both 8-6 in the district right now. But we're going to jump on to the national district, and the national district means Yorktown.
Yorktown sits there at the top. They are actually 10-2 in district play, 12-8 overall. Sorry about the graphic, guys. Edison is 2nd. They are 9-3 in district play, 13-7 overall. Then you have Washington and Lee, also 9-3 in district play, 12-8 overall. Then you have Falls Church, followed by Mount Vernon, Wakefield, Stewart, and Loudoun Valley.
Okay, and for the national district honors, we talked to him before. You're a big fan. Seth Williams from Edison getting the Player of the Year honors, with Rob Jennings from Washington and Lee, Pitcher of the Year, and Yorktown. Yorktown's on top of this district right now, so Yorktown's coach, Mike Allen, getting the Coach of the Year award.
Let me drop a little knowledge on Seth. I know people say national district is weak, and there may be certain teams that may not be good as other ones, but Seth in his last 3 games, 5 home runs, 13 RBIs, batting over 500. It doesn't matter if you're playing Pee-wee kids. Those are very, very impressive numbers at the high school level, especially towards the end of the season. His first postseason game, he had 2 dingers, 5 ribbies. Seth is on fire at the plate.
And then Dave, moving into the national district standings, national district bracket, who's playing who in the national district?
I don't believe I have.
Well,
one.
basically, you don't need the brackets. Don't worry about it, people.
Okay, all
All
right.
you're going to need to know is Yorktown is going to play Edison in the National District title.
Okay.
Mark it down right now. They have a crash course to play each other. They split their season series. They went both teams beat each other 2-1 in each game. It's going to be a tight game. It's going to be a competitive game. Edison's going to probably throw out Seth Williams in their game. Yorktown's got a plethora of pitchers they can throw out. It's going to be like a Lake Braddock, South County, close contested affair. Look for a low-scoring one. It could go either way. I'm not going to give you a pick on that one. But remember, Yorktown, Edison.
But you're still, so throw away those brackets, says Marcario. You don't need them.
Crumple them up.
But now let's look at the tournament pairings for the Northern Region. When we get past these district playoffs, like you mentioned, you have Concord going against the Patriot, two powerhouses, and Liberty and National. Also good pairings. The first round will be on Friday, May 25th, with the quarterfinals the next Monday, May 28th. Semifinals, Wednesday, May 30th. Then you have a little bit of a break until the finals. Monday, June 1st at Madison will be the finals for the Northern Region. Now, you've heard what we've said. You know our picks, but let's jump into who we think the coaches pick. The Northern Region coaches poll. These are the guys that know stuff, gentlemen. These are the people that are on top of things.
Yep, 3 of the 4 district regular season champions are sitting right at the top there. Madison, number 1, the Liberty champions. Oakton, number 2, from the Concord district. And Lake Braddock, number 3, the Patriot district regular season champions. Then you have John's Love Affair, the South County Stallions, sitting at number 4. Robinson has climbed up to number 5. Langley fell to number 6 after their big loss to Madison. Stonebridge is number 7. Chantilly 8th. Westfield number 9. And then National District regular season champion Yorktown is sitting at number 10.
All right, guys, so we've talked about it. Now let's give our picks. We're going to run through who do you see taking each district. I'm going to start with you, John. Who are your favorites?
Well, obviously, we're going to go with South County as one. Madison, you can't pick against them in the Liberty at all. And I'm going with the surprise Robinson pick in the Concord, and just because I like them, I'm going to go with Edison in the National.
Okay, fair enough. Dave, what do you think?
Just like last week, I'm going to have to go with all the favorites. I think Oakton has the better team in the Concord district. There is a slight chance that Robinson could beat them. I'll give you that, John. But I think Oakton pulls it out. Madison, when you beat the second place team 20-0, you are head and shoulders above the rest of the district. They have that one wrapped up. And I like Lake Braddock's experience. They won the region last year. I think they'll win the district this year. And Yorktown should probably win the national district as well.
Well, I'm going to go with you, Dave. We like to play it safe. I am going to say, though, that I believe Edison has a shot because I love Seth Williams. we heard those numbers. I love him. I think he has star potential. He is a star. I think he has potential to help out Edison beating Yorktown. But I'm going to go with Lake Braddock. I'm going to go with Oakton. I'm going to go with Madison. I think those are far and away the best teams in each district.
You guys wouldn't be good pirates making you walk the plank. There's no walking the plank with you guys. It's favorite central.
All right, guys, we are going to take a real quick break, and when we come back, we're going to get all into lacrosse. Now, obviously, lacrosse district tournaments have just ended, so we're going to jump right into lacrosse after the break. All right, guys, welcome back to the show. It's now time to switch gears and talk about some lacrosse. First, we're going to give you the FSN Lacrosse Report, sponsored by Triple Edge Lacrosse, and that means the FSN Lacrosse Report rankings. And obviously, first in those rankings is the Robinson Rams on the boys' side. The Rams have 16 first-place votes. They're number 1 again, 160 points. Previously, they were number 1. Westfield, number 2, at 133 points. They were previously number 2. Now, Robinson is going to play Madison. You see Madison at number 6. 68 points. They were previously number 6. Westfield will play Yorktown, 56, who's number 7 with 56 points. Yorktown was previously number 9. I'm going to jump around for you guys here. Woodson, who's tied for number 2 with 133 points, will be playing Oakton, who is at number 4 with 112 points. You see Langley there at number 5. Langley is going to play Chantilly at number 8 with 45 points. Those are your pairings here for the Northern Region second round. You also have West Springfield, who lost to Chantilly. They are out. Hayfield, who lost to Oakton. They are out. So there's your boys' top 10. And moving on to the girls, And obviously, boys means Robinson, girls means Oakton. 150 points. Previously, they were number 1. They will play Yorktown in the next round. Yorktown sitting there at number 3 with 117 points. They were previously number 3. You see Loudon Valley there at number 2. Loudon Valley will take on Chantilly in the next round, and they are at number 4 with 101 points. Moving down to number 5, you see West Springfield. Now, West Springfield will take on Woodson. Woodson is at number 8 with 67 points. Both Annandale and Stonebridge have been knocked out of the Northern Region playoffs. Annandale lost to Robinson, and Stonebridge lost to Yorktown. And those are your lacrosse lacrosse coaches poll standings for this week. Now, guys, looking back here, we're going to jump into some to talk about Matt Kugler from Robinson. Now, obviously, Kugler was named an All-American this year, along with, you see, Matt Kugler from Robinson, Matt Kawamoto from West Springfield, Reed Mayberry from Woodson, Chris Farquhar from West Potomac, and Peter Gudmundson from Jefferson. Now, that's a huge honor, and you see there 5 kids who were named to the named All-American from the Northern Region. And on the girls' side, you have Ashley Kimmener, which was the Northern Region Player of the Year, and Brian Pulick from West Springfield was the Coach of the Year. Now, we're going to get to Matt Kugler in a second, guys, but what have you seen thus far from the Northern Region playoffs? Has any team jumped out and surprised you guys?
I think it's no surprise Hayfield lost.
Okay.
I called that one
from
the beginning.
Moment of silence for the Hayfield Hawks.
Okay. That's been the only upset at all in the entire boys bracket. I mean, basically, Concord teams are winning. The teams that should be winning are winning. You're going to get some interesting matchups in the second round. Robinson, they could have an interesting semifinal matchup against Langley. That could be a tough game for them. On the opposite side, Woodson plays Oakton, and then they could face Westfield or Yorktown. I fully expect to see a Robinson-Woodson final and a Robinson win. I just don't see any. There's no upsets ever. And Robinson's just too good for teams. You can key in on Matt Kugler. He's going to pass it to somebody else. I mean, you guys were at the other game. Westfield was pounding him. He said, you know what, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to pass it to one of my teammates. They can score. I mean, when you have an All-American that just has no problem passing to somebody else, I mean, that's a trademark of a great player.
And speaking of the All-American, we have Matt Kugler on the phone. Matt, how are you doing today, sir?
Good, how you doing?
Doing very well. Now, we just mentioned how Robinson seemed to be keying in on you during your game with them in the Concord District Final, but you just said, okay, you're going to key on me, you're going to try to rough me up, I'm just going to pass the ball, and we've got other people that score. What have you seen from your teammates, more specifically Tyler Zink? He's obviously a great player.
Yeah, Zink's definitely a great player. You know, there's definitely times when he takes the workload off my shoulders, I take the workload off his shoulders, but I mean, we're a team as a unit, and whatever it takes to get the whole game finished is what we got to do, and it doesn't matter who scores, really, for us.
Matt, assess where your team's at this year compared to where your team was at last year at this same point in the season.
Well, at this point last year, we really started meshing together just like we are this year. I know last year we started off with some early losses to Oakton, Woodson, Westfield, and this year we found ways to win those games when they've been close. So there's a definite difference between last year's team and this year's team, and but we still have the same makings of last year's team as well.
Now, how frustrating does it get for you when you know that you are the sole focus of the other team's defense? And I think Paul was saying in the district final you spent a lot of the game on your back. You know, they're all keying on you. How frustrating does that get for you out on the field?
I mean, it gets frustrating. It's a little more frustrating in games that are close because you feel like you got to do something to get the win. But, I mean, I can rely on my teammates just as they rely on me. And, I mean, just as I said earlier, whatever it takes is whatever it takes. And that's kind of been our game plan this whole year. I mean, we've had ugly wins, but as long as you get that W, that's all that really matters.
Tyler Zink saying we're just a team of natural scorers, and that's something honestly that you can agree with. Now, Matt, the 2 losses, lost to Landon, lost to Gonzaga. What does that mean to the team this year right now after losing two games to Washington area powerhouses?
Well, when people from Northern Region play private schools, they usually think, oh, well, we're not going to win these games. You know, they're just to make us better. But we were going into those games hoping to keep it really close or even win. And it was both disappointing. It was disappointing to win both of those, or to lose both of those games. So we were really hoping that we could pull those out, and we didn't. And honestly, I thought it brought our team closer than it ever has before, learning what we have to do to get better, and especially coming into playoff time. We can't make mistakes like that, and we've showed it so far, and we're going to continue to show it.
Now, Matt, for the viewers out there, tell them what's the biggest difference between playing a public school versus playing a private school in terms of the talent level and just the intensity of the game itself.
Talent level, those players, they really can handle the ball. You're not going to find too many drop passes on the crease or even on the perimeter. And on top of that, they're all athletes just like we all are. And also, when you get a possession on offense, you really have to control it, because once they get the ball on offense, they can hold it for 5 to 10 minutes at a time and then get a goal. So you really have to be patient and hope your defense can come through. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't.
Now, Matt, you guys have Madison on Thursday. What is the initial scouting report on Madison? What have you seen from them? What are you preparing for them?
Well, I really don't know too much about their team. I know they have some great players, some people that got all region, and we prepared for them just like we prepare for any team. We only had a day to prepare for them, but we will be ready for them.
And Matt, named All-American recently. What does that honor mean to you? You've had such a great career already. What does the honor of being named All-American mean to you?
Well, it's a pat on the back, certainly, but to me, championships are a little more important.
Obviously, and the Rams are defending their state championship, heading into the second round of the region tournament. Matt, thanks for being on the show, and we wish you luck in the region tournament.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you, Matt.
All right.
Mentioned, Matt Kugler just named an All-American, Concord District Player of the Year. He exploded last playoffs with 5 goals in the state title game. He has been keyed on a lot this year, as we mentioned. And why do you think they have succeeded so well, even with people doubling, tripling Kugler?
His unselfish play, and like I was mentioning before, if you have a great player that's just freely will pass the ball around, that shows that he cares about winning. I mean, I loved his answer right there. It's winning championships. I mean, that's what it's all about at Robinson. If you look up at the scoreboard, if you look at their title thing, they want to win championships at every sport, specifically lacrosse. They went into this year as state champions. They lost 2 games to the private schools. They did beat a private school this year, though. I mean, they are definitely the chalk in this region, in the state, and one of the top teams in the country.
It doesn't hurt that he has some great players around him, so when he's being unselfish, passing it off, the guys are going to put the ball in the net as well. So,
as I mentioned, just a team of natural scorers. Well, like I mentioned, Robinson has Madison in the next round. Madison beat Mount Vernon 15-3 to move on to the next round. You also have Chantilly versus Langley. You got Madison Robinson, Woodson versus Oakton, Westfield, Yorktown. Is there any team that you think in this bracket right now that can beat a Concord team? Or do you think we're going to see pretty much an all-Concord Final Four?
I refuse to bet against a Concord team. Or I refuse to say a Concord team's going to lose. So I'm going to say a big fat no.
So you're thinking you're going to get Chantilly, Robinson, Oakton, Westfield in the Final Four.
I do. I said earlier I thought Woodson would go. I still think they will go. But again, if you're asking me who do I think is going to win, you look at the sports. I mean, look at softball, baseball, basketball, football. You go against Concord, you're in a load of trouble. So just assume Concord's going to win.
Dave, what's your opinion?
I don't know. I was pretty impressed with the Woodson team when I saw them beat Langley for the Liberty District title. And I'll tell you what makes an All-American. We talked about Reed Mayberry, one of the 5. He had a concussion in the first round of the district tournament against Marshall last Monday, missed the semifinal game on Wednesday, and was not cleared until about 10 minutes before the game against Langley Friday night. And he went on to score 5 goals to lead them to the 9-7 victory. I mean, that's just unbelievable hard. And he said he wasn't trying to think about it, but he was feeling it a little bit after the game. And, he really wants to win.
Reed Mayberry, another All-American with Kugler named this year. I'm going to go with a different approach. I think 2 non-Concord teams are going to make the Final Four And you mentioned Woodson. I'm going to say Langley is going to beat Chantilly. I love Woodson and I love Langley in that Final Four. I think they're great teams. It's tough to bet against the Concord, but I think you're going to see Woodson versus Westfield, Langley versus Robinson in the Final Four. But now moving on to the Northern Region girls, and we see you see Oakton right there. You think anybody has a chance of beating Oakton?
West Springfield.
Go for it.
Sorry for interrupting you. I've been talking about West Springfield all season long, undefeated, regular season Patriot District champions, tournament Patriot District champions, won their first round of game against Westfield, a Concord District foe.
Again, though, won their game against Westfield, the number 4 team in the Concord, by 3 goals.
It's a Concord team, though. The 4th team in the or the lower team in the Concord could definitely be a higher team in any other district. West Springfield's going to have Sunny Coe. She's going to zoom up and down the field, score goals. They're going to dictate the pace. They're going to get, if they get to 10 or 11 goals against anybody, they're going to roll them. If they stay in a close game like they did against Westfield, where they're not going to get to that 10 or 11, they're going to have to slow it down a little bit towards the end of the season. They got an excellent opportunity to work on ball control because they're winning games 16-3, 19-1. 12-3. I mean, that's all the coach worked on, was said, all right, we're going to hold the ball, we're going to roll around the net, keep it for 2 and 3 minutes, maybe run a play, maybe not. That's the reason why West Springfield will make it to the Northern Region title game.
All right, Dave?
West Springfield is pretty impressive. They are the only Patriot team left in both tournaments, so they get a lot of burden on that. I could see them making it, well, they'll have to play Oakton in the semifinals, and kind of like what Coach Rowland was saying about Lake Braddock and the baseball region, until somebody knocks Oakton off, they are the best girls team. I'm not going to bet against them.
All right, guys, in a second, we're going to have BJ Kubarulis, who is at Chantilly Girls Soccer versus Centerville, on the phone. But first, let's wrap up lacrosse and go right back into the coaches poll, starting with the boys' side. And as you can see, as we mentioned before, you got Robinson right there at number 1.
Yep, the Concord District champions got all 16 first-place votes. They're sitting in first place. Westfield is tied for second place with the Liberty District champions Woodson with 133 points each. Oakton dropped 1 spot to 4. Langley is 5. Madison is in 6th place. Yorktown 7 with 56 points. Chantilly sitting in 8th place with 45 points. The Patriot District champion West Springfield is in 9. And John's beloved Hayfield Hawks are in 10th place. He can no longer complain that they are too low after being knocked out in the first round of the Northern Region tournament.
I am done complaining, folks.
All right, guys, so we're going to move on to the girls here, and John, go right ahead.
You see Oakton still remains at the top. They received all 15 first-place votes. Good old Loudon Valley is 2nd. Yorktown from the National is 3rd. Chantilly from the Concord is 4th. My West Springfield Spartans are 5th. Robinson's Rams have been struggling a little bit. They are 6th. Then you have Langley's Saxons are 7th. Woodson's Cavaliers, who lost to Langley 14-8 in the Liberty District Championship game, is 8th. Then you have Annandale and Stonebridge to round out your top 10.
All right, guys, in just 1 second, we're going to have BJ Kubarulis on the phone. And right now, though, we're going to jump right into a soccer discussion before he gets on the phone. But here we go with the district players of the year from each district. Actually, we have BJ on the phone right now. BJ, you can take us right through it. BJ Kubarulis, the senior writer of this fine show. BJ, how you doing?
Fine show. That is a bold step.
Yeah, you know, we like to take small steps, actually. We were a pretty good show, and now we are a fine show. Hoping to be great one of these days.
Now that I'm not there anymore, it's an
okay, a step backwards, a mediocre show at best. How about that? All right, so BJ, at the Centerville Chantilly girls soccer game, live report exclusive. Bring it to us.
All right, the Chantilly girls and the Centerville girls met in the semifinals of the Concord District Tournament tonight, as many of you know. It was a good game, but Centerville dominated. I mean, it was a 2-0 victory for the Wildcats, so they're going to advance to play Robinson in a rematch of last year's Concord District final. Robinson beat Westfield 2-1 tonight. So Jim Reich and Warren Williams, coaches, long time in the Concord District, joining again in another final. But tonight it was a phenomenal freshman on the side of Centerville. Many of you guys know her names. Any viewers will know her name. We've talked about her quite a bunch on the show. Jenna Richmond scored her 10th and 11th goals tonight. She scored off of a beautiful assist for the first goal in the 14th minute from Kate Tysinger, who Kate Tysinger was the best player on the field tonight, even though Richmond had both goals. Tysinger was just absolutely everywhere, guys.
Now, you mentioned Jenna Richmond. She was one of 2 freshmen to make the all-district team for the Concord District. And guess what? Robinson's Audrey Berry was there, too. And you also mentioned Tysinger. A snub, I think Tysinger was second-team all-district for the Concord District. So, BJ, running through these district players of the year, you have Kat Wheeler from Lake Braddock, the senior defender, utility player for the Patriot District. For Megan Lindzick for Langley, 14 goals for the Liberty. Cortland Bristol, the sophomore from Chantilly, with 17 goals this year, obviously from the Concord. And Edison, senior midfielder Anna Tupi from the National District. Do you think these are good picks for each district, BJ?
Yeah, I think they're pretty dead on. You've got Cortland Bristol, a sophomore out of the Concord District, with 17 goals, up to 19 now, actually, after their first game in the Concord District tournament. 2 of those goals scored one against Cox and one against Princess Anne. So anybody that says her goals were not scored against tough opponents has me to deal with on that one. But then you've got Kat Weiler from Lake Braddock, a team with so much talent. She's really held down the Patriot District, led the Bruins to a #1 seed in the Patriot District tournament. But they list her at defender for Player of the Year. But the interesting thing about Kat, and as you see on the graphic, the utility player that she is, they played her absolutely all over the field this year. Midfielder, forward, a couple of goals to her name. So she's one of those kids that can really do it all. She's going to be playing for Ohio State next year. And then you look in the Liberty District, Megan Lensick has just been tearing it up since her freshman year. And 51 goals in her career, 14 of those in 11 games. Sat the first game of the season.
Wow.
In Centerville, they got blown out without her, but she was, nursing an injury from the beginning of the season. So, as Lensick goes, Langley goes, and that game against Centerville is proof of it.
Now, BJ, we're going to keep it real here. You and I have seen Centerville and Robinson play several times this year. We're going to look past the Concord District title game for a minute. Do you think those 2 teams will meet again in the Northern Region title game? And if not, who do you think or what teams could pose potential roadblocks for Centerville and Robinson?
Well, Centerville and Robinson are obviously the cream of the crop when you talk about the Concord District, as proven tonight. They both advanced to the final, so I'm not Nostradamus when I say that. But as they improve and head into the regional tournament, as the top 4 seeds head into the regional tournament, I think there's a lot of sleepers as you look around the region. I think West Springfield is a team that not enough people talk about. They've got Laurel Pastor, a fantastic forward, and then you look at the other midfield/forward position, Amalia Clayton. John, you and I saw her against South County in the first game this year that they played against each other. They ended South County's 9 straight victories, undefeated to start the season. So West Springfield is a team that has made a late push to make a name for itself. Stonebridge is, I believe, one of the best teams in the region, and they're getting back. An interesting note, actually. Here's a little story break for you guys.
Here we go.
Sarah Cabresis was an all-Met pick last year, and here she is out all year with an ACL injury. They just got her cleared, and when Langley coach Melissa Bibby heard that, she did a double take when Rayanne Taylor, coach over at Stonebridge, in her first year, by the way, done a phenomenal job to get her team into what could be another Liberty District Championship game. If Langley and Stonebridge were to meet in the district final, guys, on Friday, that would be another rematch. So you'd have 2 potential rematches, one in the Concord, one in the Liberty. And, you ask me who are roadblocks. You look around the rest of the region, Lake Braddock is obviously a team that could win the title easily, return to the state championship, to the state title game.
Looks like we just lost BJ Kubarulis. The phone must have given out, but as you can see, BJ knows girls soccer, obviously, and I love Stonebridge. I love Robinson, and I love Centerville. I saw Robinson play Chantilly and absolutely dominate Chantilly, as BJ said, that Centerville had just done. So Robinson, like Lake Braddock, so I think those are the 4 best teams. I believe we have BJ back on the line. BJ, we were just talking, we were just kind of wrapping up. Take it from where you were.
Yeah, I just want to make mention. Sorry, guys, I don't know what happened. A little technical difficulty.
That's all right.
I just want to make mention that we talked about Anna Tupi over at Edison, and we don't talk enough about the National District. And I want to mention that Edison, was the bridesmaid for the last 3 years in the National District, and they finally beat Yorktown during the regular season, and that gave them the district championship. Now, in the National District, the regular season is for the district tournament title. They only play their district tournament for seeding for the upcoming region tournament. So Edison, finally, in T.J. Hawkins' 4th year, they win the National District. And, Anna Tupi, one of the best midfielders in the region, and Lauren Kaiser, also one of the best defenders in the region. They had a heck of a squad over at Edison, and look out for them in the tournament. They don't play the toughest schedule. They're kind of by playing in their district, but look out for Edison.
All right, BJ Kubaroulis, senior writer and associate producer for this very show. BJ, we got to let you go. We're running low on time. Obviously, poor time management skills on my part, but, we can't all be BJ. So, obviously, BJ, we'll see you real soon, and thanks for calling in.
Hey, you guys are doing a fantastic job. Keep up the good work. My boy Dave, keep it up, buddy.
Thanks, BJ.
Later, BJ. Real quick on Edison, they have been kind of the second-place team in the National District. But for people familiar with girls soccer, they are not an unknown. They beat Robinson last year in the first round in the Northern Region before bowing out in the second round. So that team is legit come tournament time. They are loaded with seniors this year. Very confident group. Their district tournament resumes today. I'm not quite sure. They were in the semifinals. They should win. They should advance to the finals to play Yorktown again. It's just, Edison's a good, well-rounded team. It's one of those teams where you look at it and you're like, oh, Edison, we should beat them. But they're going to give you a really tough game, and they're going to hang around. If you make 1 or 2 mistakes at the end, they could score one. And just like Robinson seasons last year, you're done. All
right, guys, only girls soccer today, but obviously we'll be back next week and talking about boys soccer. Let's jump right into the Fairfax Sports Network's Athlete of the Week. And this week, it's, Christopher Newport University, the old college for Paul Frummel. Margaret Severin graduated from South Lakes in 2004. Obviously attends Christopher Newport University, plays softball there. She was named the National Fast Pitch Coaches Association, that's a mouthful, to the first team. Right now she's batting .457 with 59 hits, 22 runs, 44 RBIs, 21 walks, and 17 doubles, which is the school record. And it's hard to get a school record at CNU because they're good at every sport, and they're just the greatest college ever. Thank you. I got my plug in. Go Captains.
No big head there. Well, we're going to go from Captains. Paul's going to take his breath, put the head down a little bit. It's time for his little shining moment, the Loudon Report.
All right, guys. Loudon never gets love except for right now, and I'm going to give it a lot of love, starting with tennis. Heritage's Beanie Cronenberg wins the girls' singles Dulles title in tennis, with Loudoun County's David Replogle winning the boys' title. Now, on the team side, the Briarwoods, the second-year Briarwoods tennis team, beat Loudoun County, who had a 40-game win streak, to take the Dulles district title. Now, Briarwoods' #1 Patrick Melbourne, a transfer from Stonebridge, beat Replogle, who we just mentioned, to clinch the victory for the Falcons. The title is the second this year for the second year Briarwoods program, who won in golf in the fall. On to baseball, the Broad Run boys baseball team beat Parkview 6-1 to take the Dulles district title. It was the first baseball title for Broad Run in a decade. On to softball, great game, probably the best game this year in softball in Loudon. Broad Run beat Parkview to win the Dulles title outright. Parkview led 3-1 going into the final inning, and with 2 outs and down by 1, Broad Run's Carla Powell hit a game-winning double, 2-run double for the win. Now, this is the 5th win for Broad Run over Parkview in 2 years. Obviously, it would have been Broad Run has not lost yet, and it's a devastating blow to Parkview. Parkview pitcher Nicole Pitcock drove in all 3 runs for the Patriots. And last note, soccer and basketball, Potomac Falls soccer and basketball athlete Ben Biber was in the VHSL Male Athlete of the Year. John, let's move right into your madness. I know we're running really low on time, but give me a summary of what you got going on in your mind.
Got a little brief. Being named to an all-district and all-region team should be a very good honor for players. But in this day and age of making kids feel all warm and fuzzy, it seems that any halfway decent to average player is going to be on a first district team. We use Patriot District softball as an example. Their all-district team consisted of 17 players, including 3 pitchers of the year and 4 shortstops of the year. That should not happen. You do not need position play or 4 players per position. In each given sport, there's a set number of players that are on the field. Pick one per spot. There's no need to have 17, 18, 19, 20 players on a given team. Fact of the matter is, high school sports is a big business in the sense that these kids are auditioning for colleges. There are scholarships available, and that's thousands of dollars that students can either save for themselves, their family, or those dreaded student loans. So in the future, when making all district and all region teams, don't pick the okay players or the so-so players or the, hey, that kid was a really good player. Pick the best player at that position, because in no way can there be 4 players that are difference makers at every single position. Pick the best.
All right, John. Well, there's a little bit of madness for you. You might have a point there. But this is the end of the show now. We're going to move on to talk about the teams that make this show possible and let people like John Marcario spew his madness. But first, the FSN Game of the Week. This week on demand is the Concord District Lacrosse Girls Championship and the girls soccer Chantilly against Robinson. We just mentioned that game that was taped on 5/4/07. FSN's on the web. You can visit it at fairfaxsportsnetwork.com. Hey, CCI Screen Printing for all your what? Screen printing needs at 703-978-0257. Quality Care Ford Service Center servicing all makes and models at 703-383-6299. And Triple Edge Lacrosse with Man of the Year, Dennis Stewart. Triple Edge Lacrosse, www.tripleedgelax.com. All right, guys, so playoff time, everything's really hectic. We have a jam-packed show, and next week it's probably going to get even more jam-packed with region tournaments starting, district tournaments ending. Guys, everybody make sure to stay tuned for next week because it's going to be just as good.
It's going to be crazy. Also, kids, it's getting hot outside and it's sunny. Wear sunscreen. Listen to your mom.
All right, for John and Dave, I'm Paul Frumwell. Thank you guys very much.